companies that are making big investments in that area because they're going to be able to just add on to the existing geothermal plants. And as the water comes up, it creates the electricity that's going to run the process. And they'll pull the lithium out and then just inject the water back in, no mining required. And General Motors says that there is enough to more than supply all of the lithium that the United States needs. In fact, I think in my video it's something like, I'm going to say 40 or 50% of the global demand is available just in that one place. And there are other places like that. Okay, so we're going to be looking at processes because engineers are very sensitive to environmental impacts now. So we're going to be looking at processes that will extract minerals that we need with much more care about the environmental impacts than what we have done historically. And because our technology is better, we'll be able to do that. So there's good news in answer to that question.
All right. How you holding up?
What's that?
How you holding up?
I'm good.
Okay.
I go all night.
What's the ease of connecting solar to the grid?
What's the what?
Ease. How easy is it to connect solar?
It's plug and play. I mean, I'm not an engineer.
Plug an hour at our house.
But basically, developers look for places where there's already some kind of grid infrastructure, transmission, substation, whatever it might be. So that's why we're not just going to put wind turbines and solar panels willy-nilly everywhere. We're going to look for places where there's already a transmission line because siting transmission is even harder than siting wind turbines. And so when we find those places, then it's a matter of just having engineers do what they do and running a line or a conduit from your facility into that station, and then you're out on the grid. And by the way, you'll hear a lot of people say, well, I'm mad because they're going to generate that solar energy and then they're going to send it to another state or someplace else, or somebody's going to get that electricity and it won't be me. That is not the way physics works. As soon as the electricity goes onto the grid, it essentially is moving at the speed of light and it goes to the first open circuit and follows the path of least resistance. So if you had wind turbine nearby here, our lights would probably be running on wind. But it would also just as likely that electricity would make its way to Grand Rapids or Lansing or anywhere else on the grid because it's moving at the speed of light. So, the closer that source is to you, the more likely that you're going to be generating electricity from that source.
Good. According to a 2021 study, over 5 million acres are needed for solar and 845 gigawatts are proposed. Is this study accurate? I'm guessing that's in the USA.
845 gigawatts, just to give you an example, I think the entire United States grid is something like maybe 1,000 or 1,100 gigawatts. So the questioner says, proposes 845 gigawatts just with solar. I don't know about that because I don't think solar is going to be, it's probably going to be a dominant form. It might not be, I don't think it's going to be that dominant. Because I think we're going to have a lot of wind turbines, we're going to have offshore wind. Again, as I said, I believe we're going to have things like geothermal. It may be that they get nuclear to work sometime in the 2035, 2040 time frame. I don't know. I would say that is a very, very high value, and I'm not competent to really run those numbers here right on stage and tell you whether that's accurate.
Based on your answer, I would say it's not off by an order of magnitude, but it might be high. Because there probably is an ambition to increase the capacity of the grid to handle transportation. And everything else is going to be electrified.
Right.
So
there's just a whole lot of assumptions that are kind of baked into that.
Hidden into that.
Yeah.
All right. And a strange question, but what I'm interested in, how close are they to making solar panels that allow filtered light to grow plants through them?
Oh, I think that's happening now.
Oh.
Yeah, I think people, not to get too far ahead of the technology, but at the experimental level, there are solar panels now that just selectively absorb certain wavelengths and allow other wavelengths to pass through. And so they're trying to figure out what are the wavelengths that plants like best and what are the wavelengths that are most efficient for us to use to generate the electricity that we want. So there is a lot of work being done on what is called agrovoltaics, which is like working, making agriculture work with photovoltaic systems. And I don't want to get ahead of the technology because we're not there yet. Our primary goal right at the present time is, first of all, to get as much clean energy implemented as we possibly can from an economic and environmental perspective. And then as engineers do what they do, which is constantly improve things, I expect we're going to see more and more of these approaches. And I think there's going to be probably dozens of different flavors of this kind of experimentation going on, and it's very exciting stuff to watch.
Okay, we say the hardest one.
Okay.
Can you compare the area of land required to generate a certain amount of electricity using solar systems versus other fuel systems?
Well, I was doing a little bit of thinking last night, and I looked up the amount, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I looked up the amount of land that we use for ethanol, for instance. And it's approximately equal, the land to grow corn for ethanol is approximately equal to the total acreage of Indiana, Massachusetts, and Connecticut combined. Okay, so when you put it that way, it sounds like a lot, you know. When you look at solar as being part of the income stream for thousands and thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of farmers across the country who are going to try to integrate that into their operations to create a diverse income stream, a resilient income stream that is drought-proof and flood-proof for themselves, then you see the potential for, there's going to be a certain amount of acreage that is in solar, but that solar acreage is going to be helping to preserve those farmers, keep them on the land, fortify them against the predations of development and sprawl, keep those farms in the family, and keep that farming ethos and that stewardship ethos strong over the whole country. And I think if you look at it that way, you see how farming and clean energy are really becoming kind of, I hope, inseparable in that they're both supporting each other and at the same time supporting those family farms and those communities. One place that's been pretty successful in Michigan is Gratiot County, which is just a stone's throw from where I live, and I've talked to a lot of officials there. And they told me that they started getting wind turbines there 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and they saw it right from the get-go, right from the beginning, as a program that would help them to preserve the agricultural character of their community against encroaching sprawl, keep the farms in the families, and they are telling me now that it has done exactly that. And they're starting now to see co-siting of solar in and among those wind turbines in there because they've had such a good experience so far.
Well, that pretty much wraps up our questions. I know there's an interest here in the audience because it's one of these cards and having your presentation made to some local government units. But I'm going to leave other people to organize that. And just thank you very much for coming.
You bet.
Thank you for presenting.
I'll be around here for a little while if anybody wants to chat. Thank you all for coming.